Let's get into the use case for compliance, and specifically PCI compliance. And I'm going to imagine a scenario where my CISO has asked me to measure how we're doing and also has asked me to put some policies in place to help us. So I'm going to go to this PCI standard that we see in the top left under the compliance dashboard. And for this demonstration, I'm going to focus on two of the controls, 6.1 and 6.5.6. And we see that 6.1 is really about establishing a process to identify vulnerabilities, specifically within any cluster, namespace, or system that's going to be transmitting cardholder data. And it really talks about evaluating processes to rank these vulnerabilities and ways to actually enforce it in the environment to make sure we're not introducing any critical vulnerabilities to our payment systems. And that's really what 6.5.6 has to do with as well. Now, not only do we bring in the exact language of the control, but StackRox has actually done the interpretation for you. So we've measured a control guidance for how this translates to Kubernetes, and we've given you a process with policies to actually go ahead and introduce ways to increase these scores. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my policies, and I'm going to take a fixable CVSS greater than 7 policy, which is exactly what I want because it's going to address anything that's critical and is going over a risk score of 7 for CVSS. And I'm going to go down to the scope, and I'm specifically going to put this in my production cluster and scope it to my payments namespace. When I click next, I can see that this has to do with fixable CVEs greater than 7 based on my criteria. Click next. I get a quick dry run of everything that's violating this for my Visa processor and my MasterCard processor. And now I'm going to turn this on at the build and the deploy stage. And this will essentially fail any build in my pipelines if there are risks present, as the control states. And the deploy level will actually use the admission controller to fail that at the API server for Kubernetes and reject anything that goes. So I'm going to rescan the environment now for PCI. And you'll see I'm at 81% right now. And now I'm at 83%. And if I go down to those controls, I see 6.1 is now at 100%, 6.5.6 also at 100%. This is an example of how to successfully establish a policy to increase the compliance score for a PCI control. Thank you.